The Mickey Mouse Club Newsreel.
In 1950, America had the greatest population explosion in history. After the war, young couples were starting families. Suburban neighborhoods sprouted up everywhere. And the hula hoop craze swept the nation. Marilyn Monroe made her mark in Hollywood, and Elvis Presley made rock and roll a household word. Radio receivers were found in nearly every room, and television brought entertainment programs to 51 million homes. It also brought us live events like the opening of Disneyland. Walt Disney's dreams came true on July 17, 1955. Introduced at the festivities were the Mouseketeers, a lovable group of children who were set to star in a new afternoon TV program called The Mickey Mouse Club. Although no one knew it at the time, they were witnessing the birth of an American phenomenon. The Mickey Mouse Club was a smash hit from the moment it was first broadcast in 1955, setting audience records and revolutionizing children's television forever. But, as often happens, invention was born from necessity. In 1955, Walt Disney Productions was experiencing explosive growth in both animated and live-action films. Adding to the drain of studio resources was Walt Disney's latest venture, a theme park he called Disneyland. But Walt was running out of money.
From the very start, it was the problem of getting the money to open Disneyland. And we had everything mortgaged. It takes a lot of money to make these dreams come true.
Everybody thought he was completely nuts, and he was going to spend $17 million to build this park. We actually sold our house at that point, and we were down to one car, and it was, it was tough putting that money together.
Walt always turned to his brother Roy, the studio's chief financial officer, for help in financing his dreams.
Roy tried every avenue, and he would say, Walt, the banks have turned us down. And Walt said, well, the networks have been after us for years to do programs for them. That'll be our solution.
With the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world. Thank you.
ABC jumped at the chance, and the deal was made. They provided $500,000 financing for the park.
In return, ABC received two shows, the primetime Disneyland show and a new concept in children's television. And that's how the Mickey Mouse Club was born. Walt knew he was creating the new kind of children's program. He turned to one of the studio's most talented producers to guide its development.
Bill Walsh was the founding father of the Mickey Mouse Club. He was primarily a writer, but he was also a producer. Bill could direct, he could do anything. He was a very multi-talented man. He probably, as much if not more than Walt, was responsible for the Mickey Mouse Club and the spirit behind it.
One day, as the story goes, Walt Disney basically walked up to him and he said, I want you to be the producer of the Mickey Mouse Club. And he said, but I don't know anything about this, and he said, well, who does? Television was in its infancy. And so everything was just a sink or swim situation. In this case, they swam very well.
Before the Mickey Mouse Club, children's television in the 50s was populated by reruns of old cartoons and puppet shows like Howdy Doody. But Walt Disney wanted the Mickey Mouse Club to be different. Originally, the Mickey Mouse Club was to be live from Disneyland 5 days a week. The show was to be set in different parts of the world, and cast members would include a magical genie, a comic, a sketch artist, and a puppet. Walt furiously scribbled ideas on legal pads and passed them on to Bill Walsh.
I used to go eat lunch in the Curl Room, though, and Bill Walsh, who produced the show, was in there quite a bit. Bill looked like, his hair was going off in all directions, saying, what's going to happen to me next, every day.
The format evolved into a daily one-hour show divided into 4 15-minute segments that could be interchangeable. Each day of the week would have its own theme: Fun with Music Day, Guest Star Day, Anything Could Happen Day, Circus Day, and Talent Roundup Day. In addition, the show would contain serials, a newsreel for kids, and career featurettes. The comic, the artist, and the puppet, as well as the genie, vanished, to be replaced by the Mouseketeers and 2 adult hosts. Roy Williams was a Disney studio artist and gag man who worked in the story department.
What would you like to have me draw?
Mickey Mouse.
Walt Disney told Roy that he was going to put him on the Mickey Mouse Club and call him the Big Mouseketeer. Roy was nervous about appearing on camera, but he knew that if Walt thought it would work, it probably would.
Mickey Mouse.
Jimmy Dodd was a songwriter at the Disney studios. Bill Walsh thought Jimmy would be the perfect host for the Mickey Mouse Club, but Walt Disney had to be convinced.
A lot of the other producers and people working around Walt Disney knew that Jimmy Dodd would be like the perfect person. This was the guy. But they had to let Walt make that decision and come to that conclusion. So they kind of set him up in that there was a song about a pencil that Jimmy had written lyrics for something or other, and they had him come in to Walt Disney to perform it. They said, oh, we want to show you this is a great song, and and so he went in there and he did this pencil song, and Walt Disney suddenly came upon this wonderful idea and said, this is the guy to be the leader of the Mickey Mouse Club, Jimmy Dodd. And they thought, what a great idea. But in fact, I mean, they had really set him up.
Jimmy Dodd wrote the theme song of the Mickey Mouse Club, as well as some of the show's most memorable music. And together, Jimmy, Roy Williams, and Bill Walsh auditioned and selected the Mouseketeers with the final approval of Walt Disney.
If you didn't have a cast that was generally appealing, it wouldn't have worked. But at the same time, if you didn't have kids that sort of sent out different vibes in different ways, I guess then the different kids in the audience wouldn't have found people to identify with.
Bill had no idea where to go because Walt said he did not want professional kids. He just wanted average neighborhood kids with lots of talent. Bill said, well, how do you do that? And Walt said, well, that's your job. Go around and find them for me. Bill Walsh said, I went out and went to schoolyards. And he'd stand around outside the schoolyard and watch these kids. He said, I don't know what people thought I was doing. And he later said that you can usually find one kid on the playground during recess, whatever, and the other kids will sort of gravitate to that one person. They seem to have a magnetism.
Bill Walsh knew that the magnetism and charisma of the Mouseketeers would determine the success of the Mickey Mouse Club. Walsh and his staff went through their own talent roundup as they auditioned thousands of youngsters. Only 24 were chosen, ranging in age from 9 to 14.
What perfect casting, what perfect blend of personality and role to play for those kids.
We didn't know what a Mouseketeer was at that time. In fact, when I first went on the audition, I thought it was for a special for the Disneyland show.
I went to the studio and sang, played my accordion, and sang. Then they put me on a trial contract because being that I didn't dance, they wanted to see if I could stay up with the kids.
I did a little Chinese dance with one of the other little girls, and I got the giggles right in the middle of it. I don't know why, and I had absolutely no idea why I was there. I just went and did my little dance, and I guess that sold them.
And I auditioned 3 times. I actually was picked to be a guest because I didn't dance at the time. I didn't really sing. I remember at the audition, Jimmy Dodd asked me to sing something. I said, I don't know what to do. He said, well, just sing Happy Birthday. So I went, Happy Birthday, da-da-da-da-da-da. And that was, he said, okay, you can carry a tune.
It was 1955, and I had a gimmick. Even though I got my job dancing, I did a barefoot jazz dance to rock around the clock.
The first day of the Mickey Mouse Club, I remember we all congregated at the front guards station, and they waited till we were all there and walked us all in as a group.
I remember the smell of the smell of the Mouseketeers, which really was the smell of makeup, hairspray, you know, things that most 12-year-olds, you know, are not that familiar with. But pancake makeup and things like that. I'll remember that smell and the look of the kids and this kind of glow around them, you know.
Well, I was scared to death, you know, because here I knew as I'm walking in, there's Sharon Baird, all the people I was competing against, they got the job too. And this was going to be tough, really tough.
My emotions were like a kid in a candy store.
It's like the first day of going to a new school. We had been in another school. You didn't know anybody, you didn't have any friends, and so it was a little scary.
Doreen just took me by the hand and just took me right next to her and put me there, and she said, stick with me, I take care of you. And I went, okay. And she did.
I remember my first line. It was guest star day, and my first line was, "Here they come, Annette." And I was going to bring in a guest star, or I guess it was a group or something. And so I was really nervous about that. I remember being nervous about that. Because as a kid, I'd sung and I'd danced, played instruments, but I'd never delivered a line. So I practiced, and I practiced the night before, you know, "Here they come, Annette. Here they come, Annette." You know, here they come, Annette. You know, I just went through all these permutations of the line, and it was so unnatural. I delivered it so badly the next day that Sid Miller, our director, gave it to Cubby.
The last original Mouseketeer cast became the most popular. At one point, Annette Funicello received over 6,000 letters a month. In 1992, Annette disclosed that she had been diagnosed as having multiple sclerosis, a disease of the central nervous system. She's created the Annette Funicello Research Fund and today serves as a role model for disabled people throughout the world. Annette remembers her first day on the back lot and a special visit by Walt Disney.
You walk out to the studio. The first thing you see is Mickey Avenue and Dopey Drive. So that puts you at ease immediately. It was my home, away from home. He would come on set all the time just to make sure we were happy. And we were.
On Monday, October 3rd, 1955, the secret couldn't be kept any longer.
That's right. It's time for the Mouseketeers.
The Mouseketeers were introduced to television audiences, and the rest is history.
The kids were really terrific, and they were kind of around here on the lot all the time, and they were sort of family. And this lot had always been a kind of a family place, you know. It was more like a college campus than it was a studio, and even today is a lot like that.
Their work week was Monday through Saturday. It was a 6-day work week, although they went to school Monday through Friday. And oftentimes on Sunday, they were at Disneyland performing or in parades, whatever. So it really sort of, enveloped their lives.
A special performance by the Mouseketeers was originally filmed in 3D for exhibition at the Mickey Mouse Club Theater in Disneyland. This is the only original color footage of a Mouseketeer performance ever produced, and until now has never been seen by anyone except Disneyland visitors in the mid-1950s.
Fly high, fly low.
Look out there. Cut. Print that. That was fine.
The director of the Mickey Mouse Club was called on to handle 24 young stars, stage a variety of production numbers, work with a demanding production schedule, and even perform once in a while. Sid Miller guided the show for 2 seasons.
Oh, wait a minute. Just a second.
What are you going to do, Mr. Miller?
What's that?
What are you going to do?
Well, I don't know.
But we do.
Sidney, Walt said, "Can you do these, you think? Is you a good director?" I said, "Well, try me." And he did.
Sid Miller directed over 200 episodes of the Mickey Mouse Club. Fess Parker, star of Disney's Davy Crockett and Westward Ho! The Wagons, was featured on Guest Star Day. He remembers the demanding schedule of the Mickey Mouse Club.
It was fun. It was also kind of a mind-boggling production because if you remember right, that show went on 5 days a week. And how these youngsters and how Bill Walsh and the production people could put that on, it was a miracle in itself.
Going to Disney was really, truly fun. I think it was because we got to play with each other.
They went into the stage and left us mothers in the theater. We weren't allowed anywhere near them, and Annette was heartbroken. She wanted to be with her mommy.
And we come in on a Monday and go to a rehearsal hall. And we'd have a gentleman named Tom Mahoney who was our choreographer. And he'd put us through our paces, giving us the combination of dance steps that we were going to be doing. And then we'd rehearse and rehearse and rehearse until we were in unison. So we all worked as a team, just like a good baseball team.
We were having a great time because we were singing and dancing, which we loved to do. And then even at lunchtime, we'd have like PE because Ron Miller, who became the head of the studio and was Walt's son-in-law, would play basketball with us or maybe baseball or something. We always looked forward to going to the commissary. They had great food. We'd be with our Mouseketeer friends and all.
Good morning, teacher.
Uh-oh, better check your gun, partner.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like we usually started out with school, and then we rehearse and film, but sometimes that would change. Sometimes they'd even interrupt our school, which we didn't mind. But we did love our teacher. Her name was Mrs. Seaman. She taught everything. She taught Spanish to most of us. To this day, we speak Spanish to each other. She had us actually doing conversational Spanish. I mean, Sharon Baird is Susita to me, and to most of the cast, I'm Roberto. This gal was so great, and we went back in our senior year, at least I did, and graduated in the upper 2% of my class because of the good schooling I got on the set.
They all were good students. They were energetic and eager to learn, but their energy was controlled. I mean, they'd come in from dancing and singing and sit down quietly and start right where they had stopped on their assignments.
She was very nice. She gave me good grades. And she kept us in line, but very nicely.
There was a big red trailer that they had completely gutted everything out of the inside and put school desks down on each side. And it was very comfortable. And that's where we went to school.
I sat in the back on the left-hand side, and there were a row on either side of the trailer. You went in and you got as much studying as you could get done before they called you back on the set again. And I think you had to do at least 20 minutes before the school teacher would count it as being worth anything.
The Mouseketeers' schedule was filled with school and the production of the Mickey Mouse Club, but they still had time for some mischief.
We didn't get in a lot of trouble. We'd be throwing things at each other or writing notes to each other and just having a good time, telling jokes, sometimes dirty jokes. I mean, we were real kids. We had fun together. And we were a family, too. We'd have little squabbles every now and again, which either the parents would break up and say, cool it, guys.
The only actual Mouseketeer fight, now everyone thinks of us as all American kids who did everything right, was at the circus between my best friend Tommy and I. I tended to have a very fast tongue, and I was riding Tommy in the dressing room, and he had sort of had it. He said, "Don't do that anymore." And I did another line, and he pushed me, and I pushed him back.
What are you going to do about it?
We pushed each other a couple times, and there was one of the mothers was out there, and she said, this is Disneyland and Walt Disney. You can't be doing that. If somebody is liable to seat you. So he said, okay.
I'm going to knock your block off.
We went behind the tent. He pushed me. I pushed him. He pushed me. I pushed him.
Now stop it. Don't be sore.
Tommy went to push me and accidentally missed and hit my face on the side here. And Dorian actually said, "Tommy's fighting dirty." He hit Lonnie in the face. And I responded by hitting him in the ear. He got knocked down, which he will deny to this day.
Seems like my recollection, though, is a little different than his. He seems to think that he knocked me down. I think I knocked him down. I'm not quite sure now. And to be honest with you, I don't know who the winner was.
Mouseketeer Lynn and I went down in the vault once. And we were exploring, went through the administration building, went down the steps to the right. I remember going down to the right and just kept going down and got down into the vault, which was this tunnel that went under Disney Studios. And we did it like 2 or 3 times before they found us. We knew it was wrong, but they finally, one of the security guards fished us out down there.
We'd go yelling because you could echo, so you have a bunch of Mouseketeers going, woo! The girls would pin the boys up against the wall and then kiss them. And then we'd run off in another direction. I mean, that was the second year. We were still quite young. But by the 3rd year, when we went to Disneyland, we were having what they called make-out parties. You'd watch your favorite TV show, and you'd sit with your boyfriend or one of the other Mouseketeers and neck. And that was a make-out party. That was very popular in California back in the late 50s.
Actor Tim Considine starred in several Mickey Mouse Club serials. Tim loved fast cars and learned a few racing techniques on the Disney backlot.
I convinced a guard somehow at the studio, this nice guy, to let me come in on the weekends when the big parking lot was vacant. And no one was there except me and this guard and whoever was the skeleton crew at the studio. And I would slide my mother's car around the parking lot for hours, you know, and driving as hard as I could and finding out what it was like to slide. And I'd loop this car and I'd say, okay, that's good, okay, got that, you know. And finally, after 2 or 3 weekends, this guy wised up and said, holy smoke. What would happen if this kid rolls this car or hits something or hurts himself? I'm out of here. So he said, I think it's better that you don't do this anymore.
A couple of the kids got into the paint room one day and started mixing different colors together, which didn't go over real big with the painters. And they weren't Mouseketeers the next year.
They used to change dance steps right during the dance number to make me look wrong. Cubby or Lonnie, or they'd say, step right instead of left. So it looked like I was making a mistake, even though I was right. And in later years, especially on stage at Disneyland, Lonnie would say, turn right. And they'd all turn right, and I'd turn left, and I'd look like I was the one that was goofing off.
A couple of them were running around the catwalks and were splashing paint on the scenery. I remember one went up to the casting director and punched him in the stomach. I remember one of the mothers was sitting on the lap of the casting director and at the same time pushing her daughter. And they didn't want stage mothers. They didn't want professional kids, as a matter of fact. But stage mothers, no way. After the first day or two, they banished them to the studio theater.
The kids had so much fun together. They'd swim, they'd get little Cubby O'Brien under the water, and some of the girls would try to kiss him under the water.
Karen, I had a crush on Karen, and we kind of hung out together for a while over her, while her mother was watching on.
Well, we sort of had a crush, and we were right at that age when you started doing those kinds of things, like holding hands and kind of wanting to do those things. And my mother was always there, always there, always there. Karen and Anita, the little nice girls shouldn't do those things.
I think we probably all had crushes on one another at some point. Tim Constantine's son, last night I was sitting next to him, he told me that Tim had a crush on him. He never told me about that. I wished I'd known, because I'd had a crush on him, too. I had a crush on Don.
Cheryl told me the other day she had a crush on me at that age. I just found that out. It's just changed my whole childhood history.
Everybody wanted to go with Lonnie because he was Mr. Cool, but he went steady with Annette.
I gave her a first kiss, so I beat out Frankie Avalon, a couple of the guys. And we went steady, but that was a short-lived affair, I'm afraid.
That lasted 10 minutes.
My husband had a fit and kicked Lonnie Burr right out of the house.
Lonnie is kind of our intellectual Mouseketeer. I mean, sometimes we can't even understand what he says.
Lonnie says stuff to me, and I go, Lonnie, could you speak English, please? I don't know what he's talking about.
I love Cubby. He's just such a happy person, even still today. And when he got sleepy, he used to play with his hair. And one day I stuck gum in his hair. I don't know why I did that. We were in the theater at the studio, and I just got this stupid idea I was going to do that. Boy, did I get in trouble for that one. See, I guess I did more things wrong than I thought I did.
Cubby loves the ladies. He always loved the older girls. Liked to sit in their laps. Thought that was great fun.
Doreen is a character, and I remember Doreen just being bubbly and bouncy and full of life and ready for a good time. I mean, she was kind of the raciest.
Don has a different story to tell, but he didn't know that all the girls had a crush on him.
Tommy I had a crush on. Yeah, Tommy I had a crush on. He was really cute. He was really cute. I don't know who he had eyes for, but they weren't for me.
The Mouseketeers have fond memories of growing up together, but they also have their own favorite moments from the Mickey Mouse Club.
Annette, I think it was Annette, Doreen, I can't remember who the third person was, on toe. They were dancing ballet around me. I come out first with a baseball mitt and a slingshot and everything, like a tomboy or just a regular kid. and start singing a little bit.
You can have my slingshot and my fielder's glove. If I am now or ever have been in love.
And I go to a dream sequence, and the girls have pigeons on their arms. So I'm singing this song while they're dancing around me, and a pigeon comes up and lands right on my shoulder. And it startled me so much that I stopped. And the director, Sid Miller, or it wasn't Sid at the time, it was Dick Darling, said, "Don't ever stop. This was perfect. Don't stop." So we did it again. Pigeon lands right on my head this time. And I remember what he said. He was going to yell at me if I stopped. And I was hoping he didn't drop anything on me down my forehead. And so that's the one they used.
We'd have tumblers or dog acts or, you know, whatever. And they came on and wanted to toss one of us around.
Okay, Cubby and Dennis, come here.
Because I hadn't learned yet that later on when I joined the Army, I learned you don't volunteer for anything. But when I was 8 years old, I thought, so this looks like fun. So he just said, now climb up there and get on and don't do anything. Just relax, go limp, and let me do all the work. And that's what I did.
The shoe song, I remember doing one of the first things that we did. Bobby and I were the Bobby Soxer shoe.
The teenagers are Sharon and Bobby.
I know one of them was Karen in Cartoonland. That was really fun. That was probably the most fun because I got to find out really how they did animation.
You're a wonderful model, Karen. Now let's see what you look like when you're mad. That's fine. Hold it.
We did a song and dance called Some Days There Just Ain't No Fish. And I had a lisp at that time. Later, I went to a speech pathologist. But the way I would say it, and our director, Sidney Miller, he loved my lisp.
I don't remember so much of a lisp, but when she spoke, it was just a little, you know, her S's were getting away once in a while, and I thought it was cute as the devil.
I was in Some Days There Just Ain't No Fish, and I tried so hard to say it straight, and I couldn't.
Other days are less successful. Some days there just ain't no fish.
There was one show, and I remember we were all watching, and she was supposed to say sit. And it took 11 takes for her to say sit.
Some days will start mighty fine with a splash, with a nibble that tugs at your line, mighty fine. But you pull it in and found you caught a beat-up shoe that's leaking water. Some days there just ain't no fish.
I really enjoyed a show called Father and Son that I did with Jimmy Dodd because people started writing in saying that we looked alike because I guess we had a big smile, we had big hair.
Aha, that's my boy. Father and son. And if you'll pardon the pun, my son's the son of a gun. And so's my dad. Oh, we're father and son.
Jimmy Dodd wrote a song for me called Annette. I felt like a little princess dancing and singing to him. I will never, ever forget that dance number.
Annette, Annette, Annette.
The Mouseketeers' hectic schedule kept them busy. The Mickey Mouse Club had been on the air for several months before the cast realized that they were a hit with audiences everywhere. In fact, the Mickey Mouse Club and the Mouseketeers inspired a host of merchandise, including hats, guitars, wagons, roller skates, games, photo albums, and even nightlights.
I think I realized how popular we were when we went on tour to Chicago. We stopped in Oklahoma City. There were about 40,000 people there. A big dust storm came up and our black ears turned to brown, doing the Mouska dance and all of the things we did on tour. In fact, a funny incident that happened is I got on the bus with the other Mouseketeers and we were signing autographs, leaning out the window. And you know, those ears were molded to our heads and they cost $50 each. And if we lost the ears, we were docked $50. So we were very careful. But I was leaning out the window, signing an autograph for this little fan, and he grabbed my ears and rushed through the crowd. Well, our heavyset casting director that was along with us jumped off the bus and tackled this little guy and got my ears back, and I saved $50.
I was the one that always did what I was told to do. They said, do this, I did it. They said, do that, I did it. That's the way I was. And they were handing us their autograph books through the windows, and we were signing, and some man got on the bus and said, we're going to leave, please put up your windows, no more autographs. So as I was doing that, there was a man holding a little girl, and he was going, please, just one more, please, just one more. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. And I closed my window. And then I looked around, and everybody else was still signing, and I, to this day, wish that man would find me and say, that was me. I'm so sorry I couldn't sign your autograph. I really feel guilty still. I still think about that.
They were like the Beatles in those days, yeah. This was a pretty serious worship of this gang of really nice, kind of average young kids, you know, talented kids, but nice kids.
When we went back to Chicago, we were on a train trip, and I remember coming out of the Johnny Tremaine opening and being in this bus, and they rocked this bus. I mean, this is a big, like, Greyhound-type bus, and it wasn't hostile. You know, this was not aggressive. This was enthusiastic.
There were just thousands of people in Chicago, and then we went to Australia, and we landed at the Sydney airport in Australia, and there were 20,000 people waiting for us. It was unbelievable. I mean, I had my own bodyguard in Australia, this big, huge ex-boxer. His name was Max. So it was a lot of fun. You know, Max used to pick me up and hold me over his head and carry me out of the stadium. It was fun.
We hit Chicago, and people are lining the streets for us. People are yelling our names. And it finally hit us that, boy, this show's a hit.
They would put us in the limousine, and there'd be wall-to-wall people, and the limo would start rocking back and forth, and the driver would put it in gear and just take off. It was pretty scary.
People are just all around you, and you're wondering, am I ever going to get out of this? And they're grabbing at you, and they're wanting your autograph, and they're begging you, and as a little child, you have, what is this all about?
The policemen had their sirens and their lights on, taking us directly to a TV station. And we all knew then, we said, wow, this thing must be a success or something.
Hi, Mouseketeers. I'm Annette, and today we're going on another Mousketeer to England.
Another success of the Mickey Mouse Club was the serials. Episodic stories of the Hardy Boys, Annette, Corky and White Shadow, and the unforgettable adventures of Spin and Martin.
In the sun we're riding, singing, yippee-yay-yippee-oh.
Part of the appeal of those was the same thing that had made those Saturday matinee cliffhanger serials popular for so many years. Everyone likes a story that leaves you at a certain cutoff point where you just have to find out what happens next.
We would arrive at the studio at dark 30 in the morning, and we would be taken to a ranch, and that was our life. I mean, that was our work experience.
Man, the Triple R is the greatest ranch in the whole world.
The Mickey Mouse Club was being made at the studio, I suppose, during that time. We didn't know anything about it. There was one day where I came in late and had lunch at the studio, and I remember seeing these kids come in, that were all dressed alike, and they had names across the front of them, and they wore these silly little hats, you know, and I thought, what in the world are those? You know, and what are they doing? So I followed them after lunch. And that was the first time I ever saw a Mouseketeer, and I followed them to where they were rehearsing. And I saw them, to my horror, I saw them singing and dancing. I thought, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to do that.
David Stollery has another vivid memory of Spinnin' Marty.
My horse, the stage name of the horse in the series was Skyrocket, and the horse's real name was Popcorn. It was a Palomino, dappled Palomino. I do remember that the horse, you know, stood on my foot once and then turned around, pivoted on it. I somehow pain you can remember.
Tim Considine also appeared in the Hardy Boys series with Tommy Kirk.
I think he just sort of played Tim, a calmer, more mature.
You like the way this model handles? Don't let him feed you that. He isn't even old enough to have a license.
Joe is kind of scatterbrained, like me, and I think we made a good combination, you know. It took 16 weeks to shoot, and I got to work with a lot of fine actors, and it was very hard work, and tons of dialogue, and a lot of action. I'm going to make a confession. I never did figure out the plot of the Hardy Boys, you know? I almost defy anybody to figure it out.
This is supposed to be a mystery, isn't it? Well, give him some clues.
I never figured out who was doing what, and what was involved with what, and what was the cause of this, that, or the other. Joe always did, but I could never figure out what Joe was thinking. But anyway, I played him like he knew what he was talking about, you know? But I swear, I didn't know what he was talking about.
Sure, let him figure it out like we did. Let him guess what the real mystery was.
After 3 seasons and 360 original programs, and despite the fact that it was still one of the most popular shows on daytime television, the Mickey Mouse Club was canceled.
ABC wanted to add more commercials to the show, and Walt Disney did not want to add more commercials, so there was kind of a legal dispute going on there.
When they canceled it, it was a big blow to the Disneys because ABC would not allow them to sell the Mickey Mouse Club to another network, which they could easily do because they were, by the ratings, they were hit shows.
Well, Mouseketeers, that's about it.
The day the music died, you know, it was like we didn't understand it. I think a lot of us still don't understand it because the show was very popular. People loved the show. It was disillusioning and confusing, and we were a family, and a lot of the kids more than, I mean, I had just been there only a year, but a lot of the kids had been there the whole time. I just remember it was a dark, very dark day. I remember Sharon crying over under the basketball court.
The last day on the Mickey Mouse Club was just awful. I mean, it was bittersweet. We were doing reaction scenes to Circus Day, and of course, we were all crying. Sid Miller said, "Come on, you guys, you got to be happy and cheerful, and the more you work in this business, the more we'll work together again." So he said, "Come on, go yay." So we'd all go out and go yay, and then he'd say cut, and we'd all start crying again.
It was unpleasant. It's like graduating from high school. You know it's going to come at some point. But it was sad because we're like a Ursat's second family. We still are now, and we were then, only we're kids, so you view it differently. It was sad.
We knew by the third season that we were growing out of our roles, and that there were other possibilities maybe with the studio, or when we did leave the studio, there would be other jobs.
We truly appreciated and adored each other.
It was canceled professionally, but that didn't mean it was canceled personally. Do you know what I'm saying? That just because we weren't on the set together didn't mean Annette and I weren't on the telephone, or that Doreen and I weren't seeing one another. You know, the ones that were good friends, the ones that were close, that you were close to, you stayed close to. Do you know, through the years?
Through the years, we'll all be friends really is true. We just have a warmth and sincere caring for each other.
It's still part of me, and it was such a positive experience and part of my script. And I love being a Mouseketeer.
You have to be at the right place at the right time, all kinds of luck involved. It was meant to happen for me, and it follows me now, and everybody I work with, they all introduce me as a Mouseketeer, and people applaud, and after the show they want autographs, and they ask me questions, and it's fun. They say, I bet you're sick of talking about this, and I say, no, I love talking about this. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for the Mickey Mouse Club.
I've stayed in contact with most of the Mouseketeers. Of course, Annette is my best friend, and I speak to her 2 to 3 times a week. I've kept in touch with my dancing buddy Bobby and Cubby, Lonnie and Tommy, Sherry, Cheryl.
It's like a soap opera a little bit. You watch a soap opera 2 years ago, turn it off, don't watch it for 2 years, turn it back on, same story. No problem getting back into the groove. Same way with our friendships. Doesn't matter if we don't see each other for a couple years. We're friends forever. We're family forever.
The original Mouseketeers have been able to maintain their friendships and close ties to one another despite the passage of 40 years and a variety of changes in their personal lives. Karen Pendleton lives in Fresno, California with her daughter. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and is working toward her master's degree in counseling and works as a board member of the California Association for the Physically Handicapped. Cubby O'Brien is a professional musician who has worked with Debbie Reynolds, Bernadette Peters, and Shirley MacLaine, and is now touring with a revival of West Side Story. Tommy Cole is an Emmy Award-winning makeup artist working in Hollywood on such shows as Wings and Bless This House. Bobby Burgess went on to appear on The Lawrence Welk Show. He still dances for a living and performs around the country at state fairs, live theater, and in special engagements. Sharon Baird stayed in children's television in such shows as H.R. Puffnstuff and the Disney Channel's Welcome to Pooh Corner. Doreen Tracy works at a Hollywood entertainment company as manager of operations and is involved behind the scenes on such shows as The Power Rangers. Cheryl Holdridge was featured on television shows including My Three Sons and The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Today, Cheryl and her husband live in Southern California. Lonnie Burr is an award-winning poet, playwright, and actor. He often appears on stage, in films, and on television. After the Mickey Mouse Club, Don Grady starred on My Three Sons. Today, Don has written a number of songs, scores, and television themes, such as the theme for The Phil Donahue Show. Sherry Alberoni, wife and mother, is married to a physician who is the family doctor to many original Mouseketeers. Tommy Kirk went on to star in a number of Disney films, including Old Yeller, The Shaggy Dog, and The Absent-Minded Professor. Today, he is retired from show business and lives in Kentucky. Tim Considine starred in My Three Sons with Don Grady, and today is an automotive writer and still races cars on professional tracks. David Stollery is an award-winning automotive designer responsible for the 1978 to 82 Toyota Celica series and has recently designed, engineered, and built film and TV sets for such shows as Sequest. Annette Funicello was the only Mouseketeer that was kept under contract at Disney. She also made hit recordings and a series of beach party pictures with Frankie Avalon. That's me. Today, Annette and her husband live in Southern California, just a few miles away from where she grew up, the Walt Disney Studios. Roy Williams worked for Disney as a storyman and gag writer until his retirement. He passed away in November 1976. And the one person who truly embodied the heart and spirit of the Mickey Mouse Club and the Mouseketeers, Jimmy Dodd, died in Hawaii in 1964. He was 54 years old.
You know, Jimmy was so full of love, and he surrounded us with that. There was this aura of gentleness around us. I saw Jimmy. I was the last Mouseketeer to see Jimmy alive. Can't believe it's happening, you know? Lance and I had gotten married, and that was my first husband. Got married in 1964, and we were on our honeymoon in Hawaii. Jimmy was in the hospital. He was alert, and he was talking, and everybody thought he was getting better. And I told him we'd be back the next day, because it was later in the evening. We had just gotten in, and I called, and they told me he was dead. And, you know, it makes you realize how quickly things change in life, you know? I mean, things that you don't expect. You know, I didn't know that that was going to be the last time I was going to get to kiss him on the cheek. Jimmy, probably, of all the people on that show, influenced me. He was just this loving person. I loved him, you know? He was just always this loving, supportive presence. And I miss him.
Here's one of my favorite thoughts. The words of a great man, Etienne de Grelais. Listen. I expect to pass through life but once. If, therefore, there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow being, let me do it now and not defer or neglect it, as I shall not pass this way again.
I can't look at the Mickey Mouse Club through critical eyes. I can't. It's impossible. It's part of my life. It's part of the fabric of my life and my memory. I have so many happy, upbeat thoughts about that and about that time and how wonderful it was to see those kids and to watch the serials, Corky and White Shadow and Spin and Marty and the Hardy Boys and all of that stuff. And the Mouse cartoons, of course. I loved every bit of it.
The Mouseketeers became popular in the first place because we were like everybody's kid. Anybody could be a Mouseketeer.
Children's worlds in the 50s were small. Today, they're not. I mean, it's how many channels are on TV? I don't even keep track anymore. 80 at least. You know, there were like 13 channels and 3 networks. And what was offered was not the vast thing. You just couldn't just sit there and flick and go to Africa unless you were watching Disney. You know, you didn't have Discovery, you didn't have Learning, you didn't have these other channels that took you all over the world. And we offered that window to America, you know, and it was the message that we carried.
You know, and there were 4 segments to that show. It was, you know, the newsreel, the Mouseketeers, the serial, and the cartoon.
Meet the Mouseketeer. Mouse cartoon time now is here.
And the serials were so popular. Everybody wanted to watch Spin and Marty or the Hardy Boys or the Annette series.
To meet me at the mall shop.
I'll meet you at the mall shop.
Meeting at the mall shop after school.
And you know what else? We were ourselves. We were playing ourselves. So many shows had kid actors. I mean, what you see out there singing and dances is really Bobby.
We were having such a good time. And kids could identify with that.
It was a show that was, made for kids our age. It was dedicated to kids our age. And they knew that. And the other part of it is that real people were in this show.
Every kid who watched the show felt they could be a Mouseketeer. They felt they could do it too. And so they felt included. And Walt had always said that if you watch the show, you're a Mouseketeer.
There was a wholesomeness and a healthiness and a kind of a good, clean, fun feeling about the club and about the kids that represented the 50s and probably the first part of the 60s, really. And I think it's really, they're kind of a mascot for that, a symbol for that period of our time.
Oh, well, it brings back happy memories, fuzzy memories of Mommy cooking in the kitchen and watching your favorite show.
We had fun, and I don't know, it's just a better time in our lives.
When people realize that you were a Mouseketeer, it's like they knew you all your life, and they invite you into their life, and it's just wonderful.
Just being associated with Disney, you know, sort of gave you a magic touch.
Everyone could be a Mouseketeer. And I think that's mainly due to Walt Disney being a daddy and understanding how important that is, that children should be able to dream, and dreams come true.